comic book legend Mark Millar appeared on Thinking Critical's Comic Aficionados live stream a little while back, and he talked about the fact that the comic book industry is just going straight to hell, and what he thinks should be done to really revitalize the industry. And he had some really good takes on it and on what he's done and what should really be used with going forward. So in this article from Bounding Into Comics, they talk about, and I'm going to go through what he had to say and talk about, my own views on it as well. So the article says of Mark Millar claims comic book industry is in the worst state it's ever been. Suggests comic book legends return to DC and Marvel in order to save it. Now that would really be the right thing to do. The problem is, would DC and Marvel ever let them back? And they want to chase their phantom audience that does not exist. So go on. Comic book writer Mark Millar, known for his Superman, Red Son, Civil War, Wanted, and Kingsman stories, recently talked about that the comic book industry is in the worst state it's ever been in, and proceeded to share his idea on how to save it. During an appearance on the Thinking Critical channel, Millar confirmed his previously announced return to DC for his Superman story, and then quickly segued into saying that there's idea that at least 20 comic book legends should return to DC and Marvel to do at minimum 2-year runs in order to save the comic book industry. Now that would be really fantastic to see people who actually like comic book legends, who actually know these characters and actually want to come back and write them, do it. The problem is that a lot of these people have been blacklisted because they refuse to follow along with the hive mind mentality that has literally taken over the comic book and entertainment industry. So therein lies the problem. Anyway, he stated, there's something weird going on right now where I really feel like guys like me and guys who worked in the industry for a while have been very lucky, had a lot of big books and everything we've got to man the stations. I think everybody's got to come in and do a couple of projects and find an artist who's as good as you can possibly get and just do some killer run on something. Yeah, that would, like I said, that would be really good. Are we getting that? No, that's the problem. As for why he believes these comic book legends should return, he explained it's because the industry is in the worst state it's ever been in. That's very true. The retailers, they're struggling out there. They're dying. All my friends and retailers are saying they've never known it as hard as this. Yeah, because when you look at what is actually happening, if you just look at the American market, for instance, comic shops now are no longer just comic book shops. They have manga, they have Funko Pop and these kind of things just to keep them afloat, to barely keep them going. In my own country, Trinidad and Tobago, most people barely read comic books anymore. They barely do it. I mean, I went into a comic book, I went into a shop that, okay, we don't have large comic book shops in this country. We have stores that may have some comics in them, but they are mostly selling like Yu-Gi-Oh cards and manga and this kind of thing. You may find 1 or 2 little comic books in there. And so when I ask them, are comics selling out? They say people come in and buy, but mostly because they just want to get the covers. That's it. They're not really comic book readers anymore. What most people do now is that they buy manga and they play Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic the Gathering and things like that, because there's no excitement in it anymore. And this is the problem. So this is why these retailers are struggling. All right. He then goes on, then further elaborated on his idea to bring comic book legends back. And I was like, okay, let's get Oliver Coipel and Pepe Larraz. I just hope I'm pronouncing these names correct, people. or whatever, and we go and do a Captain America and a Wolverine run or something, everybody's got to come back and 2 runs, and if 20 big name writers and 20 big name artists do that, you've got an amazing couple of years of comic books. We need to get something like that going again. We want to see some excitement at Marvel and DC again, I think. Reacting to Millar's proposition, Yul Carter, the proprietor of Fantastic Comics in Berkeley, California, suggested that either Mark Millar or Todd McFarlane write Spider-Man, explaining because that's the book it needs to be. Of course, everybody knows that. Yeah, because right now, Amazing Spider-Man and Spider-Man in general in Marvel has just been flushed down the toilet like a giant turd. They don't care anymore. There's no interest in these characters in their lives, anything like that anymore. They just don't care. That's it. They just made up their mind. We don't care. Take this crap and leave us alone. Millar then went on to share his view that Marvel and DC need to do well in order to drive creator-owned success. In reality, in the last 10 years, there really hasn't been any real big blow-up success in the creator-owned world. Saga was probably the last one that went crazy. Things have done, they've done nicely, but Saga was the last time there was a phenomenon. I think Walking Dead prior to that. So there's been a few. But the real success comes from the industry, and I'm not talking about as individuals, as creators. It comes from the industry when Marvel and DC are doing well, particularly Marvel. And again, people hate to hear this because you're making money for the man. You're showing it up a corporation. But the honest truth is that creator-owned growth comes from Marvel and DC doing well. Yes and no, in my opinion. Yes, Marvel and DC are the big two, the main comics that everybody knows. And when they do well, other people will be interested in reading other comics to see what's going on, because there will be a renewed interest in comics. Because again, like I said, they are the big two. They are the most global, well-known out of all of them. Now, on the other hand, when Marvel and DC do so badly, when the work that they put on is so, the only word I could really use is grotesque, people are like, you know what? I don't want to read this. Is there something different or better than that I really can read? And they will gravitate to other things. Now, no creator-owned or no small company is going to start off as a massive billion-dollar company on its first week. No, that's not going to happen. It's going to take time for them to build and grow. And the more Marvel and DC keep shooting themselves in the foot and then having to amputate limbs that they've shot, the worse they're going to be, and the more that these creator-owned types are going to be able to climb up the ladder to get to where they are. Look at manga, for instance. There's a time barely a few people even knew what manga was, but now manga and anime are a global phenomenon. They beat the pants off of Western comics all the time. But it didn't happen overnight. It started slowly and it rose up the ladder till it got to where it is. And when you read manga, especially, you can see that the writers actually care about the stories that they're writing. When you read Marvel and DC, you can literally tell they don't give a damn. So yeah, like I said, I will agree partly, but I will also disagree with that statement as well. From there, Millar returned to his idea to save the industry and noted that the current output from the companies are just not good. Everybody needs to go back and do 1 or 2 projects, I think, and I'm going to try to get my friends to do this over the next couple of years, try and get some excitement going back at the companies. Obviously, there's some great books. There's 2 or 3 good books, I think, at DC right now, but you need 20 good books. There need to be 20 great books, he stated. And like, okay, he said 1 or 2 or 3 good books at DC. The problem with DC is it's few and far between, and most of the times, I actually think most of the time, like all the time, it will start off good. In the middle, it might even be good. It might get a little better, but then, they quickly destroy it. And you get back to the same garbage that just doesn't work. Or if something is good and has a fantastic run, and you're like, okay, this is really good, they will swap out the writer with some no-name hack who just comes in there to just do what they tell them and destroy it. That's it. And that's what keeps damaging the brand. And it happens at both Marvel and DC. Millar continued, and you can go back and look at these other periods in history. Look at the 90s, look at the 80s, look at the 60s. There were so many books that I couldn't afford to buy all the books I wanted to buy. And nobody's in that position anymore. Everybody's like, yeah, there's only two things worth checking out. I want to see people in that position again, where they're holding $20 in their hand, but they need $60 for the number of good comics that come out that week in detail. Yeah, that would be really interesting and good, but you don't get that, so that's the problem. Millar is not the only one to suggest the comic book industry is struggling. Rod Lamberty, the owner of Rodman Comics in Anarchy, Iowa, revealed in a blog post at Bleeding Cool that his new comic sales are declining. He stated new comic sales here in the comic store are increasingly slowing down. The recent death of Miss Marvel and Amazing Spider-Man was not a big deal at the store yet because nobody gave a damn. You killed off a character that nobody liked and everybody knew you were going to bring back. So what the hell do you think people were going to do? Rush to get it? Come on. The latest issue of Iron Man and Hulk are low sellers. Have you seen what they've done to Iron Man? I don't even know what the hell has even happened to Hulk because I don't even care anymore. The characters have fans, but few are interested in their latest adventures. Yeah, people more want to read back issues, and I do not blame them. Read the back issues. DC Studios CEO James Gunn also informed Michael Rosenbaum earlier this year, I wanted to write comic books when I was younger. If I was writing comic books today, I'd probably be unhappy because so few people are reading comic books. So when you keep putting out crap, of course people are not going to read it. As far as other ideas to try and rejuvenate interest in DC and Marvel, Jim Lee believes James Gunn can do that. Oh, Jim Lee, poof. He explained to the Hollywood Reporter, it's amazing to have partners in Peter and James, particularly James. He was a comics fan growing up and knows our mythology inside out, and having that kind of ally in the live action space allows us to really leverage what he is doing and allow us to market and sell comic books to new readers. These are people who are interested in his movies, his TV shows, and if they want to take a deep dive into these characters, he directs them to the comic books, he added. Yeah, I have serious doubts in regards to James Gunn's upcoming DC slate. I don't think people are going to be very excited for it after that. But, that's just me. But overall, I think Mark Millar is quite right. The comic book industry is not in a good place.